Welcome back to Open Line. We are talking with Linda O'Neill with Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth. We're talking about the Kids Count study that just came out. Really kind of delved into it a little more deeply than you may have seen in the news, and I think it's really interesting. There will shortly be a ranking of counties, how kids are doing in each county. Right. You did this for the first time last year, so you have some sense. It's not out yet for this year. But what did you learn last year? What might we see in the upcoming report?
So the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth is the Annie Casey Foundation's Kids Count partner in Tennessee, and we put every indicator we can find available by county on the Kids Count Data Center. So when we decided to rank the counties last year for the first time, we took 11 of the indicators that most reflect outcomes for children. Some of the same ones that are included in the National Kids Count report, and we ranked the counties, and we will have a report later this year that will rank them again. I think that a couple of things that are important to talk about. One is that poverty, that, as we've talked about, a little more than 1 in 4 children in Tennessee lives in poverty, and that is a factor in urban areas and in rural areas. So in urban areas you have pockets of really intense poverty, and then this report says 1 in 6 children in Tennessee lives in a high poverty area, and that means more than 30% of the people in their census tract are also living in poverty. And one of the things we know about poverty is that that children do better when they live in more mixed income communities than when they live in concentrated poverty. But poverty is not a respecter of whether it's urban or rural. The one kind of difference, though, is that the suburban counties around Nashville particularly tend to be more prosperous and to have better outcomes for children, and they have fewer children who live in poverty and often fewer children who live in single parent families, which are also correlated. But there are opportunities in every county to improve outcomes for children. I think one of the questions I've gotten over the years about Kids Count rankings is, you know, we're trying to do so many things, why aren't we doing better? And the answer is that even the state that's ranked #1, which is Minnesota, is trying to do better, because in that state they're concerned still, as we are here, there's too many teen births, and there are too many children in poverty, and too many children in single parent families, and not enough 4th graders reading or 8th graders proficient in math. But all states, all counties are trying to improve outcomes for children, because we really know, especially in the rural counties, they know a lot of the Kids Count indicators, the health indicators, are related to whether or not they can attract business and industry.
I'm interested in the difference between urban poverty and rural poverty. What have we learned? What can you, is there, what kind of difference is there, and what have we learned about the differences?
So it's often a difference of resources available in the community as a whole, and it's an exposure issue. I mean, people who live in more affluent parts of Nashville, where there are pockets of great concentrated poverty, are less likely to see people who live in poverty, because where they go to the grocery store or to church or shop or whatever is typically not a very mixed income community. In the small rural communities, that's not quite the case. There may only be one high school, one grocery store, and so it is more visible. But that doesn't mean it gets addressed that much better. It's just because often those communities as a whole have fewer resources. However, the one difference is in some of those rural communities, the schools are really a source of pride and often do produce pretty good outcomes for the children in those communities. But it's going to vary as to how committed the school is to, and that means faculty at that school are, to really being more supportive and understanding, especially of children who have either live in poverty or have adverse childhood experiences.
Right. And I think when the whole community is behind the school, that makes a huge difference.
Does make a difference.
And everybody's in it together. What counties last year needed to work the most?
So Lake County in Northwest Tennessee ranked lowest, and some of the other low counties were primarily small rural counties. Shelby County doesn't do well, but Shelby County we know has huge, just the sheer numbers there of children and families that live in poverty is really drastic. The community violence is worse in Shelby County than in other counties. Shelby County did an adverse childhood experiences study few years ago, and in that county, 37% had either had seen someone or had been exposed to someone either shot or stabbed. And that's just an incredible statistic.
Wow, 37% exposed to someone shot or stabbed.
Right.
Of children.
I think this is really the adults in that community have been exposed to that, but their children have been exposed too. They live in neighborhoods where they don't have much hope. I mean, one of the correlations actually with poverty that's often surprising to people is obesity is heavily correlated with poverty for two completely different reasons. One is that unhealthy food, fast foods, are cheaper than fresh fruits and vegetables and healthy foods. And the other is around physical activity, that children who live in neighborhoods where there are high levels of violence stay in to stay safe, in spite of what you hear with shootings that still go through walls, but they can't play outside. And you know, when older people were growing up, people like me, then you know, you played outside a lot and got a lot more physical activity.
And how is Davidson County? doing?
I don't remember where Davidson ranked. Somewhere toward the middle or the bottom, because there's a lot of poverty here too.
And I think you're right about people don't see it often.
Right.
But it's there.
Yeah, it is a very prosperous city, but some of the challenges now are around affordable housing and transit problems for people who do not have a car. It's hard to get around, it's much more challenging to get to work. If you don't have a vehicle and you need to take a child to a child care center and then get to work, it can involve a whole bunch of bus rides.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. Okay, we're going to take a break, then we'll come back. We'll give people an opportunity to get some more information on all of this. Maybe you can give out some information, that kind of thing. We'll take a break, be back right after this.